All right. So, today will be round 2 of MAG1. Again, small recap. This is a team-based, region-based tournament. You can see the rosters here on the left. So we have the French team 101, the Asian team 201, the Russian team 401, the English team 501, and then the Finnish team 601. As you can see, 301 is gone. 301 got disqualified after losing all of their players in round 1. The way this tournament works is that players from one region play against another. For instance, you can see here above, the first game that will be happening on MAG1 will be Flower Fairy versus Mungst. Whoever loses this match will get eliminated, and so they won't be able to play in a future round unless their team decides to revive them. This is a point-based tournament. You can see the points that people have accrued after round 1 on the left here. So currently 401 is in the lead. Reviving a player will cost them 5 points. How do you get points? By winning games. And you can get more by using a voucher mechanic. So every round, teams will be getting vouchers, and they can use the voucher to say, we think that, for instance, we as 401 think that Play Archer will beat Cast. If they are correct in their prediction, they get double the amount of points for that game. But if they're wrong, they lose the amount of points that their opponents gained that round. So it's a very double-edged sword type of mechanic. It can get you a lot of points, but you can also fall behind where you would have been better off if you didn't use it. Another mechanic that's being added is going to be reroll vouchers. This is new. This wasn't there in round 1. And what this does basically is try and create some consistency for the players. It works similar to the prediction vouchers that they have, except here people can choose to re-roll a game. So essentially, you can see, for instance, here, Flower Fairy decides to re-roll after seeing Mungst starting specialists by not spending supplies on turn 1. And so they end the turn by allowing the turn timer to reach 0 by not using end deployment action. So basically they say, I think this is a very bad matchup for me. I am very disadvantaged. I want to re-roll the game and have a more even board state between the two of us from the get-go. So that's interesting, right? This hasn't been done before. And it should create some of that, I guess, more competitiveness. Making sure that you don't get blowout games because someone got unlucky with a very poor start. We'll see how it works out. You do lose some points for using this. So reroll will deduct 5 points from a team score. And reroll can also only be used once per player per match. Now, starting on round 2, we have 2 vouchers per team. So we currently find ourselves over here. Format from round 1 is repeated, but players now earn 20 points for winning, and teams must deduct 10 points from their team score to revive an eliminated player. Teams must play a minimum of 4 games per round. Blah, blah, blah. So if players are all eliminated, as we saw with 301 in round 1, unfortunately, that is the team is disqualified. Game 1. Let's have a quick look at these packs. Typhoon spec here looks pretty good. Farseer spec also a strong opener. Might expect both of them to play standard, at least Steelsane, I would say. Red Hair, though, has shown willingness to play aggressive. Goes for the cost control Tarantula Marksman pack. Now that is quite surprising. No chaff start. I don't think this is a pack many people would be willing to play. And yeah, Steelsane goes for the solid Stormcaller opener here, and I think he'll be quite pleased to see the Tarantulas on the other side. So what is Red Hair's plan going to be? He's going to be playing standard, it looks like. Expecting the same thing here from the blue side. And we did see that Red Hair is running Range Elite, Shooting Squad, as well as Aerial Specialization there on his Marksman. Not a very common thing to run Shooting Squad when you don't have Assault Marksman as well. Steelsane here going for a very, very normal opener. Just adding 2 Fangs to his existing chaff. And trusting the Fangs and the Stormcallers to be able to deal with everything that's on the board. First Stormcaller salvo there, though. Not great. Also, let me go back to where I usually am. Yes. I'll have to get used to that new moving back and forth. I think Stormcaller should win out, though. Only 1 marksman surviving. Debuff here does come through, but it won't mean that much. Counter debuff coming in for Steelsane, and 1 pack of Stormcaller survives on round 1. But that's not too bad, considering Red Hair does have more starting hit points and is still sitting at a comfortable 4,600. Subsidized Stormcaller. Picked up here for Red Hair. Quite a good card for him to show up, I would say. Steelsane already had the 2 to begin with, but Red Hair didn't, and so we'll be able to make good use out of that card. Already deciding to deploy 3 with the additional resources he has from cost control. That's a powerful turn. Steelsane, though, known to play a relatively tempo-heavy standard game, goes for that Wasp drop in the corner there. Unfortunately, the Wasps are very low range, and so here they're getting pulled towards these Stormcallers instead of the tower. Might not be too bad, though, as they do manage to take out a pack. Some of them now focusing on that right tower. Debuff should come through. And that's a fantastic round for Steelsane, considering the heavy investment into the Stormcaller from Red Hair this turn. Round 2 in favor of Steelsane as well, and now he's evened out the hit points, both players sitting at 4k. Round 3, Steelsane gets access to his Farseer, and we also see the first round of unit reinforcements. Sandworm instantly picked up there for Red Hair. And what does Steelsane want to go for? I think Wraith, not ideal, and Typhoon is not the best in standard either. And Steelsane also opting to go for the Sandworm, so both players here realizing that this giant, which you might not see all that often, actually does really well into these boards of marksmen and stormcallers. Able to get around, or rather under, all of the missiles. Get close range, get in that red dead zone. And start DPSing. Armor also, instant investment from Red Hair, so we might see some more worms showing up. Another Stormcaller has been added for Steelsane. And yeah, I mean, you can see here the lack of damage on the board for both players. And that armor on the worm for Red Hair is really making things difficult. They've been shooting at it for quite a while, but it's not even down to 75% of its hit points, I think. Could say the same thing for the worm on the right side, though. And we'll just have to see how this engagement plays out. Red Hair gets the debuff first. Worm is making its way over to this clump of Stormcallers. Worm for Steelsane does decide to go for the debuff first, but I don't think it matters at all. And now it just comes down to a Worm v Worm fight. And oh my days. That is unreal. The armor difference there. I don't even think you could see how many hit points were left on that Sandworm. So Red Hair takes a round. And it does mean that his Sandworm gets enough EXP to level up. While Steelsane Sandworm is still sitting at 1200 out of 2000 required. And we get 2 good giant items. Steel ball production line picked up here for red hair. Definitely the better production line item. And yeah, it finds its way onto that leveled sandworm. Steelsane's still thinking. I wouldn't be too surprised though if we do see... Oh, decides to go for efficient light manufacturing instead. I don't think that I agree with that decision. Because I don't know like what small units he would want to purchase to kill these worms. Buys another Stormcaller. That's not going to be able to deal with this at all. I mean, this requires a Fortress or a Melter. Melter is a little bit sketchy though, if Replicate comes out. But I don't think that you can get away with buying non-giant units at this stage. Steelsane's selling the worm instead. What does he have in mind? Okay, does decide to go for a Melter. Keep in mind though, efficient light manufacturing is very expensive. I think the card costs 350, so has to buy 7 units, 7 non-giant units just to break even. And right now, all he's done is bought 1 Stormcaller, so he's still down 250. Hello, Valrun. Melter does get the lock, but the worm burrows. Melter does get the lock again. Ooh. Is able to take out that level 2 worm just in time, but on the right side, a new worm has appeared. And that one is unanswered. And so a very big round win here for Red Hair, sending Steelsane down to 2,300 hit points. Things are looking very sketchy here. Redeployment Acid Blast. Red Hair here perhaps going for a gut shot. Trying to get that acid down. But that's a bit of a weird placement though. I feel like that's way too far forward. He might shoot himself in the foot here with this type of positioning, because the worm will definitely have to get here if ever it somehow gets stuck on chaff while sitting in here. Okay, he beacons it. Alright. So, trying to pull all of these units here from Steelsane into the acid and circumventing it himself by using the mobile beacon. I'm not sure Steelsane will be shielding here. Acid is not necessarily something that you might expect in this situation. Quite an expensive spell. Not many people tend to pick it. And it's relatively far forward as well, so even if he would shield, I think some of it would still land. But Replicate here could be really scary. Luckily though, for Steelsane, it hasn't come out just yet. Instead, we see just some levels on the Tarantulas, some levels on the Stormcaller. Stormcaller HE has been picked up to help with the chaff clear. And Steelsane picking up that Melter on the other side and also deciding to grab EMP on the Farseer, hoping to disable that armor and make the worms a little bit less tanky. For now, though, doesn't really seem to work all that well. One worm down, but the bigger worm in the middle here, now arriving close to that right tower. Melter has died inside of the acid. Right Melter goes down as well, and so that should just be another round for Red Hair, but Steelsane can still afford to lose some hit points. Goes down to 1,000. If he can stabilize slightly, he might be able to take another loss here, but has to start recovering. Wait, what is that? Oh no. me try and get this over the predictions so that you guys don't see the whole thing. It's a bit of a mess, I'm sorry. It'll have to do. Nukes are incoming. Steelsane opting to go for a beacon himself, trying to avoid that acid. Does put down 2 shields. We see range on the tarantulas now, so Redhair does decide to keep these as his chaff clear. More Stormcallers being added as well. Still no Replicate. I think Replicate could be really good for him here. Redhair not deciding to shield. A little bit surprised with that. I do think that at least putting down 1 shield on either side wouldn't be too much of an investment. But I guess that he feels comfortable sitting at 4k hit points. But let's see how comfortable he'll be after this round, because his whole left side just got deleted. Still, lots of units over here for Steelsane, not inside that beacon, slowly dying to the acid. Crawlers make its way to the tower though. And the Fangs and the Stormcallers, can they stop it? They can. Just in time, so no debuff coming in for Steelsane. Oh, I say that. The Stormcallers had something else in mind. And so Steelsane does manage to get that stabilizing round by using the nuke, but still, it keeps him in. And gets him more resources as we enter round 7 with the unit reinforcements. Final round for the second iteration of these free unit reinforcements. Steel balls picked up for both players here. Good against Melter and good against Worm, so logical choice. Will we see them tech it? Something like range could be very good. Especially for Steelsane, trying to keep those steel balls out of range of the sandworms might prove very beneficial. Instead decides to go for another melting point here. And we see oil as well being used for Redhair. Redhair does decide to grab a tech, but instead of range, it's energy absorption. And Steelsane goes for the oil as well. Neither player here has Incendiary, so we won't be seeing that getting lit on fire, but it will slow down the unit significantly. More steel balls picked up for Redhair. Really trying to hammer down on this right side of the field. And Steelsane, I think, decided to sell out of one of his steel balls. Just wants to trust the melters. Let's have a look. Melter here kind of getting stuck on the crawlers and the steel balls. Steel balls getting a lock on. That melter should be gone. Yes, it will be. And right tower will fall because of that. And so I think this will already be the end of the story for Steelsane. That steel ball pack, very, very hard to deal with for him. And Redhair does take the win in our first game of today. So, we had this game here between Redhair and Steelsane. Redhair winning. Now, the first game, which was happening at the same time between Flower Fairy and Mungst, was a win for Mungst. So 601 here taking their first win, and what's even worse for 201 is they used their double or nothing voucher. And so we see down here the -20 coming in. That is rough. That is a rough start of the day. 601 getting 40 points. I don't think that's correct. I think it should be 20. But I'm sure it'll be changed. But very good start here for 601 and not a great start for 201. They do end up winning their other game, so they will at least be able to offset this loss. But we already see one of the vouchers there just not really paying off. So yeah, you can see here 201 is betting on, well, the game they lost against Monks. And they also put one for the game between Misim and Masao. We can see 401 here betting on their game between Dzemp and French Pilot. 101 between Dillo and Maitrepeters. And 501 between Arbiter and Vic. What does a voucher do? So these vouchers, they basically double your points if you win. Currently in round 2, teams get 20 points for winning. If they use the voucher and they get it correct, they'll get 40 points. But if they get it wrong, they lose the amount of points their opponent gained. So normally speaking, you don't lose any points for losing. But if you use the voucher and you lose, you'll lose 20. And again, if your opponent used their voucher on the same game, you lose 40. Look at the packs here. I think Rat will be picking up that aerial spec that looks like a Rat pack if I ever seen one. Shade opting to go for cost control with the crawlers and the sledges. And yes, we do indeed see that aerial spec coming out here for Rat. A very solid amount of hit points for how good this pack is. 4,800 is lovely. And Shade here, not the most hit points for being cost control, but does have a pretty decent matchup into the steel balls. Usually, if you want to defend against steel ball pushes, then having sledges early on, especially when vertically placed, can slow down these advances quite significantly. And Shade here looks like he's kind of debating where he wants these sledges to be. We do see that on the side of Rat, it's a symmetrical push coming in. A little bit further back from the line, though. I think he's left 4 squares in front of his steel balls, which means that there will be 6 once we enter round 2. Camera, yes. I did forget it. Another sledge picked up here for Shade. Quite like that. Shade does not run armor on the sledges. Actually runs damage sharing. Link is not a tech that you see very often. I don't think we'll see it this game. It's not exactly very efficient versus steel balls. But yeah, nice deployment choice here from Shade, I would say. Able to get both deployments out thanks to those additional supplies on round 1. And add another crawler and sledge to the mix. Right side winning for Rat. Left side, though, heavily winning for Shade, which is the side where he had the bonus sledge. Let's see. Steel balls are picking up quite a bit of EXP here, and they should get the EXP from the tower. Crawlers on a mission. Second debuff might come in clutch. We'll have to see. How much can the steel balls do during the debuff timing? Yes, chat has already been disabled. Round 10. Round 2. Oh my days. We get Underground Threat picked up here. Very, very powerful spell. Pretty much an insta-pick and a must-pick on round 2. Extremely hard to deal with, especially if you're Rat. I wonder if he wants to use this offensively or defensively. Might be better for him to just use it defensively. We get Phoenixes picked up on round 2 for Shade, as well as more sledges. Kind of surprised that he wants to put the Phoenix on the left side. This Steel Ball pack with the level could be scary. But for now, we'll have to see what Rat decides to do with his resources. Opting to go for double Crawler. And does use his underground threat defensively as one of the crawlers there in the back, trying to stall any tower cheese if they come from the diagonals. And does actually end up going for that level, had enough supplies left. Also has an incoming flank on this side. And his crawlers managed to win out. Looks like we'll get a trade of towers. Right tower falling first for Shade, but he'll get Rat's left tower very shortly. We have one Assassin Steel Ball though. Eyes on the prize, going for that debuff. Shade will still end up winning the round, but that debuff does mean the Steel Balls managed to kill all of those sledges. And so only 200 coming Rat's way. Wouldn't it be more economic to buy a stack of crawlers? No, because an underground threat has like double the amount of crawlers. It's like 2 packs of crawlers, I think. Thereabouts. So you can't stop a... If the crawlers are untech'd, you can't stop a underground threat with the level 1 pack of crawler. You can stop it with the level 1 pack of level 2, with the level 2 pack of crawlers though. Free units, both players opting to go for the wasps here. Rat trying to get into this, or towards this tower from the middle. And Shade just putting it defensively against this crawler pack that was flanking him last turn. It'll take a while for these to clear it though. They do one-shot the crawlers at this level. But there's 24 crawlers in here and wasps do not have any splash, so they'll have to shoot each and every crawler individually. These series are best of 1, yes. Wraith has been added. Should be a very good round here for Rat, I would assume. I imagine that this debuff will be coming through, and the Wraith should be able to clean up the wasps as long as they're untech'd. We might see a bit of a transition into the right side of the board here. Left side is quite strong for Shade, but the right side is definitely vulnerable here. Yep, and Wraith indeed does manage to get rid of those wasps, and you see it flashing, which means that the Wraith picked up enough EXP to level up. That's a very good round for Rat. Left side still losing. Debuff will be coming through, but there's nothing left really to be able to dispatch at these wasps quickly. So even during debuff, I don't think this will be working. It's a close affair though. Wraith will get stuck on these sledges for some time, but with those Phoenixes out of the way, nothing should be able to take out the Wraith. But perhaps... I was going to say maybe we get a tie, but not even close. Big round. Wraith gets a level. Wasps almost get a level. An advanced targeting system is picked up by... I don't like that. I think that's way too expensive. Spending 450 credits on turn 4 when you just lost like a round in that fashion and the Wraith gets a level. I don't think you care about advanced aiming system there, or targeting system. Range is not really a statistic here that you care about, because your opponent is already in your face. So I think I would have preferred Shade skipping there and trying to fix the problems that he has. Rat opting to go for the jump drive, very common tech choice on the Wasps. And now turning his attention to that left tower. Mustangs also being purchased for Rat and for Shade. But I don't think he'll have enough here to kill that Wraith. Especially if this levels. Level 1 Mustang without any techs are simply not going to be able to kill the Wasps or the Wraith. Yeah, it does get a level here. And so do the Steel Balls. Shade trying to get a cheese here. Perhaps realizes that the position he's in isn't fantastic this round, so tries to get a debuff. It should come through, but the question is how much of his board will be alive once it does. Left side actually not looking too bad. Wasp's kind of getting stuck here. And the debuff does end up coming through. But even with that, again, I don't think this Wraith is dying. Unless the Phoenixes have something to say about it. There are level 2 Phoenixes on the board. Debuff has now gone away, but some Wasps splitting off very fortunately for Shade, going for the other tower. I actually think Shade will be picking up around here, so fantastic play by him. Managing to win this round. Even though he took such an expensive card. I think the problem that Rat is facing is that these sledges are actually really tough for him to deal with. These level 2 sledges on the left side, so tanky. Steel Balls really don't like dealing with them, and neither do Wraith or Mustang or anything on his board. Now with that, Rat should be covering his sides, so we won't get the debuffs again, and that should equalize the way the round plays out. EMP picked up for Shade. Very good spell. Short cooldown, so he'll be able to get multiple uses out of it in this game, you would imagine. Especially with both players sitting around 3,800 hit points. Wasps here, being jump drove all the way to the back of the map, covering the right side. And some Mustangs picked up as well. Crawlers added as distraction. And the Mustangs have been given range. What is Shade going to do with these Wasps? Okay, does beacon them again. And Rat decides to add a Wraith to the flank here. No text clicked yet though, apart from on those Mustangs. Clever beacon here, I do like it. Some of these Mustangs should split off, but I'm not sure it'll be enough. It actually takes a while for level 1 Mustangs to kill level 3 Wasps. And these guys are fast. 21 meters a second. Maybe they get intercepted by these back Wasps though. Fangs are helping as well. Oh, it actually looks like he should be fine. Yeah, Wasps coming into the rescue. And I think the EMP actually didn't hit the Wraith there. It's not slowed down. So right side is just absolutely powering through. Still, these Phoenixes are meant to be able to deal with these Wraith, but they find themselves on the wrong side of the board. And Shade is really going to need something to be able to dispatch of these, because I don't think Mustangs will do it. Rat instantly picks up the level 2 Fortress here on round 6. Overlord actually looks pretty good here for Shade, I have to say. Could also opt to go for the Melting Point if he wants. But Melting Point's somewhat worse into Steel Balls. And we see Drill being picked up for Rat as both players have the Underground Threat available again. Rat perhaps a bit afraid of a something like Replicate being teched by Shade, trying to attack his tower. So for that reason he goes for Drill, so he doesn't have to invest too much in defending his towers. Oil being picked up by Shade here as well. The Steel Balls on the left side have been sold and have now been replaced by Fortress. And this is quite a common aggro play. You start out with Crawler Ball, you add some Mustangs, you play Ball Stang for a bit, and then you pivot out of Steel Ball into Fortress Stang as the better late game comp. Overload has been teched as well on these Overlords. Level 2 pack of Mustang here, I mean... they're not super high level yet. But they should be able to get rid of the Overlord if they manage to get a lock on. Also, the chaff clear on the side of Shade is not ideal. Sledges tend to be kind of slow, so we could see Rat investing into crawlers a bit more. Right side looks fine though. That oil able to slow down the push significantly. But then again, the free units were also not on that side for Rat, and instead it's the left side that's pushing in for Rat. And again, these Phoenixes, just 2 bad rounds for them. Only 4,700 damage dealt this round before they were taken out. Looks like we will get a tower debuff. The one Overlord bites the dust. And these leveled Mustangs able to take out the final Overlord. And so Rat takes another round here. And actually, I think he's in a really good spot. That Fortress is going to be very, very tough to deal with. Especially once the barrier comes around. Laser Sight, a fantastic item for Stangs. But Orbital Bombardment or Nuke, also very big spells. Nuke could be close to finishing the game here. And Rat seems to think so as well. Utilizes the nuke on the right side. Goes for the barrier. Trying to protect these the Mustangs. And Shade instead goes for the more economical choice. Orbital Bombardment. Rat adding another Fortress here. He was thinking about mobile beaconing these Stangs away, realizing that they could get sniped by one of those orbital strikes. But instead decides to add another Fortress and make sure that it gets underneath one of these protective shields. Also, Rat already deciding to lone, gets the temp speed, so he's really trying to close things out fast. And Shade, not enough money here to be able to get the range enhancement on the boat, so they can be quite vulnerable here. Sitting at 115 meters, so they have less range than the sledgehammers. Might result in a fast lock-on by the Mustangs. We'll have to see. Bit of an odd beacon though over there. Mustangs being beaconed into their doom. Right side gets completely deleted, but for some reason, Rat just cannot manage to get to that tower. And the Overlords, managing to survive, take out 2 of the fortresses before they end up dying. And with that, I mean, Shade loses a round, but he's still in it. And Rat did lone and grab the more expensive spell. So it's not all over. Ion Blast, though, shows up again. Game here doing its very best to give the game-ending spells to Rat. Let's see how this orbital plays out. Or orbital ion blast. Oh, he rotates them. Ah, okay, I see. Yeah, so he re-targets the Mustang so they face backwards to cover the flank. Clever. So he can have a bit greedier positioning. His Stangs don't have to be back here. EMP back off cooldown, and that might be a very good timing here, but we see the rocket punches coming out for Rat. EMP should do lots of damage onto these 3 shields, allowing the ion beam to perhaps get some hits. Not only on the fortresses, but maybe even take out some of these pesky Mustangs. And Shade goes for the level 2 factory with armor enhancement. So yeah, this guy has 431,000 hit points, by the way. Good luck dealing with it. Yeah, the ion beam is a little bit weird, I would agree. There was indeed a Phoenix here, but it got sold. Maybe would have expected a bit more of a diagonal line, but it can be a bit trickier to hit. Instead goes for a safe play, gets one of the Overlords and a good amount of chaff. But this time around, the right side that was nuked is alive. And going for that tower. The tower had been leveled to level 3, but that will still fall relatively quickly to these level 2 Overlords. And it's less of a debuff timing, but it's still 5 seconds. And during those 5 seconds, the War Factory manages to take out the remaining fortresses. And that's a lot of damage coming Rat's way on round 8. Suddenly, things are looking much better for Shade, not so much for Rat. 3 units show up, but no Melter, which is perhaps what Rat would have liked to deal with this this huge level 2 War Factory. You would imagine that the only thing that can take it out here really would be an insta-lock from something like a Melter. Marksman, Vulcan, Rhino, Tarantula. I mean, none of this is really all that useful. Shade opting to go for Rhino. Gangster, thank you so much for the tier 1 sub. Big love. Is Rocket Punch worth it? I don't know. I'm not a big like Rocket Punch fan. I do think it's like this setup is very viable if you only play aggro. It's also very good into like mid-sized units. Allows you to chaff clear a bit better. We get Boom Rhinos. I'm not sure that I like that play so much, but hey, I'm down to see some booms. But I think the better play probably would have been to take the Vulcan and sell. Looks like that is what Rat did. Got the level 3 Vulcan, sold it, bought a Melter with range, and rebought a level 1 Vulcan to go with the oil here. So trying to burn all of the chaff on their way to this tower. But Shade decides to reposition his War Factory by selling it and then rebuying it at level 2. He's not an elite specialist, so he had to click this button again. And in fact, he manages to kill that random Vulcan that wasn't there before and prevent this from being set on fire. Fortunate turn of events, perhaps, for Shade. And that chaff might come to be quite important here as we enter the second phase of this game. Or this round, rather. At the same time, the oil does significantly slow down the factory. And, whoa. Fortress Punch there, getting the tower. Melter doing a good job, getting rid of 1, and 2 of those giants. Which means that Rat is still alive. Electromagnetic Impact shows up again. Good spell. If you don't want to pick any of the other stuff, you should definitely pick this up, considering the amount of shields and the amount of damage value that you'll get from this cheap spell. Rat's taking the same thing. That's a Level 1 attack enhancement, level 2 defense enhancement here for Shade. And Rat so far has only picked level 2 defense enhancement. Level 1 would definitely be nice. Helps out the Mustangs quite a bit. War Factory only does 500 HP damage. Yes, it got nerfed in one of the recent patches to where it only does 500 damage now. Same thing with the Giants. They all now deal 350 damage instead of the 400 they did previously. Range finally been picked up on the Overlords, but it might be short-lived, at least for the two Overlords there on the left, as they do stand to be hit by this EMP. 2 level 3 Overlords, though, on the right side. I mean, this is quite a scary part of the board from Shade. I'm somewhat surprised that we haven't seen aerial specialization yet. Shade opting to get rid of his factory does not deem it valuable. And Shade actually trying to set everything on fire. But Rat got rid of the Vulcan. There's some mind games going on here. But the slow might be good enough. Overlords are notoriously very bad at shooting at fast, small targets, like crawlers. So allowing them to... or allowing the crawlers to be slowed down should help them quite a bit. Tower here also been leveled to level 3, which is quite crucial, meaning it can tank one of those rockets from that orange fortress. Tower on the right side falls, which means 5 seconds of debuff for Shade, and it actually does look like these carry boats might pull through. It's a close affair, but the other tower goes down, and that was the level 1 tower, 9 seconds of debuff. And so Rat, unfortunately, unable to close out the early game aggression. And Shade with a solid hold here. The carry boats coming through. Some very, very good plays. Great game. Shade with the factory shenanigans. Buying it at level 2, giving it armor. Super cheap tech, by the way. I think it only cost 100 to give it that extra tankiness. Then selling it, rebuying it again at level 2, then selling it again, and going for the carry Overlords after all. The Boom Rhinos. I'm not sure how much they did, but I mean, they do at least good damage against the shields. So I don't think it's a terrible play there. Yeah, Rat's kind of just fizzling out. I think the right side, though, did cost him quite a lot. He was able to get rid of the right side through the nuke round, but then every single round after that, just these Overlords getting in, and 5 seconds of debuff is still 5 seconds of debuff, and I think it hurt Rat too much. Would have wondered if he could have maybe gone a bit wider on the board to be able to stop that and kind of contest these Overlords. Great game, though. We saw Shade versus Surrey. Seems like Masao. Oh no. Oh no. It's another 101 upset. For those of you who didn't see round 1, 101 with a lot of upset games in round 1 and are off to a great start again here with a win over Misim. And again, 201 used another one of their double or nothing vouchers on that game, which means that they lost another 20 points over here, with Masao's team happily taking that 20. So an awful start to the round 2 here for 201. Luckily, though, they did manage to win at least one of their games, and they managed to win the Shade game as well. So they're making up for the losses here with their vouchers, but they didn't gain anything. At the very least, 2 of their players are still alive, so they don't get disqualified, but that's not exactly what I think they would hope for. Next game here, by the way, will be between Dzemp and French Pilot, also known as Ente. And 401 used their voucher on that game. In this game, Dzemp versus French Pilot. I mean, Dzemp should be favored, for sure. Ladder-wise, again, and I mean, even tournament-wise, Dzemp has always performed very well. For those of you that didn't know, he was in the finals of the Clash tournament. The Launch Clash tournament, that is, against Apooche. And, yeah, always has been sitting at the top of the ladder. But French Pilot has managed quite a few upsets, being part of the 101 team that is kind of making a name for themselves with all of these wins, being the underdog, perhaps. Dzemp here opting to go for Sabertooth Specialist, starting with Fang Stormcaller. Very powerful pack if you want to play Standard, but I know French Pilot plays some aggro now and then. Typhoon Specialist here, not looking too bad. Not the greatest hit points, though. If you want some hit points, perhaps a Rhino Specialist. Mustang Crawler is dodgy, but it would be a very good pack into Dzemp, but of course French Pilot has no way of knowing that he went for a Fang Stormcaller pack, and so instead we do see the Typhoon Specialist coming out here with the Tarantulas and Crawlers. Not a great opener against the Storms for French Pilot, and he doesn't have a lot of hit points. But the Typhoons could certainly be good, and it actually looks like he might be willing to play some Standard here. Long-range fights, though, definitely do not benefit Tarantulas. One of the lower range units we have in the game, only 75 meters. Tend to be a bit awkward in these long-range fights. Oh, does decide to put... Okay, we're going a little bit aggressive here. Guess we're just sending up some backline chaff. On round 1 here, I think the best thing for French Pilot would just be to grab himself 2 additional crawlers. No real reason to go for Arclights or Marksman or Fangs. And yeah, we do see a crawler being picked up here. Hello, Apooche. Good luck in your game. I saw that you were playing Sarah in a bit. That sounds like an exciting game. Be wary of the Wasps and the Hackers and the Mustangs. I played him 4 games yesterday. Yeah, we do see the crawlers here being set up. A couple crawlers on the front to be able to distract this initial salvo from the Stormcallers. They are on the inside instead of the outside, which means that this will actually work. And the Arclights are super far away from the middle, so these crawlers are creating a bit of a ruckus in the middle. And this looks like a pretty good engagement for French Pilot here. Not the worst of rounds. Additional crawlers coming in, but I think the Stormcallers already have locked onto the Tarantulas. They have. First salvo doesn't kill them though, and with the crawlers coming in, it doesn't matter if these Tarantulas die, which they do, because the crawlers will be destroying these poor Stormcallers. What was the score of the 4 games against Sarah? 2-2. I won the first 2 and then I lost the last 2. We do get the Sabertooth now, though. Good tempo round for Dzemp. Gets access to this mercenary unit. And French Pilot opting to go for mass-produced sledgehammers. Do we see the triple sledgehammer deployment? It is kind of a classic, and you would almost say it's mandatory whenever you pick this on round 2 to deploy 3 mass-produced sledges. He's got 2, 150 left in the bank. Another Arclight picked up here for Dzemp, realizing that this mid-crawler pack was very annoying last round. And adding some crawlers to the back here, defending the flanks and also making sure that there is some late chaff coming in. Now, French Pilot doesn't run HE on his Tarantulas, which is something I've really come to like. I think it drastically improves the efficiency of Tarantulas to be able to deal with chaff. But perhaps here French pilot will not opt to invest into these tarantulas anymore. SaraTzch, though, well positioned, got rid of one of the tarantulas. Stormcallers will finish, almost finish the job. There they go. Onto that second tarantula, and that only leaves these mass-produced sledgehammers. SaraTzch is getting surrounded by crawlers, but again, the Stormcallers come to his aid. And so Dzemp here taking another good round. No, French pilot is just a different player. He's called Ente on Twitch. Still remember trying to convince you to try HE? Yeah, well, you were right. HE is decent. It actually makes tarantulas playable. You get Mustang here. Round 3 free units. And a Worm. Second time we see that today in 3 games. With armor being picked up by Dzemp. So Dzemp perhaps expecting the Mustangs. And even if he didn't, this is the turn where the Typhoons come out for French pilots. And those are also very bad into armored units. Bit of a double whammy for Dzemp. And this is already looking very scary for French pilots. Selling out of his tarantulas now. Trying to reconvert his board into something that might be able to contest this a bit better. Perhaps trying to work his way towards... I mean, you have to imagine Fortress Mustang as the best late game composition. Also, one of the compositions that will be able to contest this Sandworm, which you will be seeing after this round. Decides to pick up 2 Mustangs and a 3rd mass-produced sledge. Also opting to go for the bonus hit points there from the tower. And we see Dzemp just adding a little bit more crawlers to his board. Triple deployment there. Also leveling this Arclight on the left. SaraTzch leveling, and no. There is the raid boss. Instantly finds its target. Typhoon's not long for this world. And neither will this spider be. Goes down as well. Right side looking good though, but the middle is a complete disaster here for French pilot. And I don't think these sledgehammers will have a good time. Doesn't matter if they're mass produced or not. The Worm will have an absolute wonderful time fighting those. Doesn't even need to though. SaraTzch finishes it off with the help of those Stormcallers. And so Dzemp now sending French pilot down to 2300 hit points on round 3 as we enter round 4 with subsidized Arclights being picked up instantly for Dzemp, and French pilots going for that giant manufacturing. And you have to imagine that here fortresses have to come out, but it's not great. He might have to sell perhaps this Typhoon as it's worth a bit more than the Tarantula to be able to get his hands on fortresses. If he does, he can at least afford 2 of them. Also, he would be able to if he gets the Tarantula, because he did pick up Efficient Giant Manufacturing, so 200 unlock and 350 per fortress. Goes for the Typhoon cell instead, and yeah, we will see double fortress here coming out. Or just the one. Okay, fair enough. One fortress decides that the range on the Mustang here is very valuable, which I think is a fair argument to make, especially considering Dzemp has now decided to click range on his Arclights and picked up all of those levels. Range should keep this important level 3 pack of Mustangs alive for a bit longer. But the crucial bit here will be, can this fortress deal with the Worm? It has found its mark, and there are some crawlers mixed in. Mustangs are not locked onto it yet. Actually get to deal with the Saber there. Fortress is shooting away, but it's just not enough. Meanwhile, Arclights are just farming up those Mustangs. And finally, the fortress is able to deal with the Sandworm, but it only manages to get 50% of the EXP required for a level up. And yeah, things are looking a bit rough here. I think late game, French Pilot would be in a great spot here. Mustang Fortress should be very good against something like Arclights, Sabers, Sandworms, but Dzemp is just not letting him get there. I'm imagining we'll see a cell on the Tarantula this turn. Incendiary Bomb picked up here for both Dzemp and French Pilot. French Pilot trying to be a bit greedy here, hoping that Dzemp won't be shielding, trying to get rid of these Stormcallers and burn all the chaff on the left side of the board. Dzemp instead, a bit more conservative, positions it over here at the front, making sure that at least some of the fire would land, even if something like Barrier would be coming out, and it will. And Dzemp deciding to go for some Phoenixes. Now keep in mind the Sandworm managed to get enough EXP to level, and so it will be level 2 now. 150k hit points, and if you looked at how slowly the Fortress was able to kill that when it was at level 1, I think level 2 might be very scary indeed. Dzemp here with a bit of a classic Phoenix flank, which for now is undefended. Oh! Spider senses. Spidey senses. Tingling for French Pilot. Puts down one missile and guesses correctly because the other side is just as open. Doesn't have one of those missiles, so fortunate guess there by French Pilot. We do see some bubbles coming out, so we'll at least protect most of the chaff from that fire. It does land for about half of the range. So Arclight's kind of burning up there, so will the Crawlers and the Mustangs. Fortress is now locked onto this worm, but I mean, you can just see how long it takes to take this out. They've been shooting at it for ages, it seems. And now it burrows. Sabertooth instantly locks on. Oh god, that's a lot of hit points gone on that level 1 Fortress. Right side though, actually managing to get in. And with the debuff, the damage gets reduced. The Arclights are unable to get rid of this Fortress. And so 2 shields now taking out. And that's a good round for French Pilot. That's very good. Gets enough time to kind of farm up and get those crucial EXP requirements on the Fortresses. Only one able to level up, but I do think we should be seeing that coming out. Melting Point, though, being offered here. Does Dzemp just go for it? I feel like that's a very, very easy pick there. Like, otherwise, you maybe go for a Scorpion cell. I mean, it's a big Scorpion, but at level 2 Melter... Okay, never mind. Dzemp prefers the Scorpion over the Melter there. Perhaps a bit afraid of the Sledges. As the Sledges might make it so that the Melter doesn't get the right lock-ons, but... Puts it on the right side. French Pilot goes for the same. Does he opt to keep it, or does he want to sell it? It could be really good for him to invest more into his Fortresses. I think at this point, especially having efficient giant manufacturing, all you want is just keep pumping out those Fortresses, get them some techs, get to launcher overload and range, and you should be in a completely fine spot. No chaff here, though, on this side. And French Pilot does sell his Scorpion. Instead, invests into loose formation for the Crawlers. I quite like that. Arclights are the only thing chaff clearing for Dzemp right now, and well, this new tech is definitely meant to counter things like Arclights. Another Fortress added onto the left side. Elite Marksman, excuse me, clicked for Dzemp, so the damage here is not bad at all. Left shield already gone there, and I mean, look at the damage here on this Fortress. It's going down at a pretty quick rate. Crawlers, though, getting in. Getting slowed down a little bit by the oil, but that Fortress Level 2, much harder to take out. Scorpion, though, seems to have done its job. Getting a lock-on to that fortress, perhaps. And the oil is just creating so many problems. How much can this fortress do? Scorpion will get a lock. And you get a debuff. But I don't think it'll be enough for this fortress to take out the worm. It won't be, but it will be enough for the big fortress to take out that Scorpion, which was worth a lot of EXP. And so we might see a level 3 fortress here next turn. Sandworm, not quite there. Dzemp, the king of art carry. Yeah, he is. True. We all saw that game versus Sarah in the Launch Clash tournament. More levels available on these fortresses, and that is like the crucial thing about fortresses. If you manage to get those levels, you'll find yourself in a much better spot. So I do think you'll have to at least invest the 400 to be able to get that. Both players opting to go for the mobilized battleship here. Dzemp trying to get a sneaky debuff. And French Pilot opting to go for the same. 1200 resources remaining here. What tech does Dzemp run on his arcs? Oh shoot, I forgot again about... Oh. He runs range, charge shot, EMP, and elite marksman. Oh, clever beacon tactic here. French Pilot expecting the overload drop there, beaconing the crawlers back and forth. Wow, okay. Dzemp repositions it, but I don't think this will be beneficial to him. Missile will slow it down. There's plenty of crawlers to distract it, and actually a Mustang pack has been added. So heads up play from French Pilot here, defending all of the possibilities. The worm still doesn't die. Ah, it depends. There's a level 2 fortress here, and actually French Pilot did decide to pick up the range. The difference between a level 1 and a level 2 fortress is big. So if it can get a lock on, it might be able to DPS this. Oh no. Oh no. Oh my days. What on earth? The Overlord managed to beat those Mustangs. Are you kidding? That is so unfortunate there for French Pilots. I think he played around that as best he could, and somehow the Overlord survives on like 5% hit points. Oh, and the Sandworm just about kills the fortress. And the final 2 Mustangs are gone. Oh well, it's not the end of the world. That spawned unit only deals a quarter of its normal damage. So this will only be 100 going the way of French Pilot. But have to imagine that he would have done a lot more damage to Dzemp if not for that debuff. Still, things are looking good, right? That was 9 seconds of debuff during the mid-round. And if not for the lack of anti-air there at the end of the round, French Pilot still would have won. Tank production line, pretty good item. Not sure how effective it is against something like Arclights of this level. It might be able to dispatch of it rather quickly. And keep in mind, the spawned tanks would also be mass-produced tanks, so I feel like they might get one shot. Not quite. Well, this high-level Arclight might be able to. This one, for sure. We get all these levels on the fortresses, and I think, yeah, you just upgrade. You just get the upgrades. You don't ask questions. You click the upgrade button. You get the stats. And this is where you have to wonder, has this Scorpion pick actually been worth it? Because this could have been level 2 Melter. It did its job in the first round it came out, but it hasn't done its job the second round. Only 10k damage last turn. And it's just looking a bit sad over there on the right side of the board. Acid is what Dzemp thinks will solve his issues. And we get charge shot as well. Okay. Alright, well, if it wasn't arc carry before, it certainly is arc carry now. Clicking charge shots to deal with the fortresses and adding Mustangs as a counter to the loose formation. Most recent rebalancing of that tech was meant to give Mustangs an easier time against loose formation, specifically as it now reduces crawler HP by 30% when clicked. But it doesn't really seem to matter, and yeah, the acid, it lands now, but if you can't break the shields, it doesn't really make any difference. And so yeah, we kind of see what perhaps last round would have looked like, if not for that debuff. And Dzemp suddenly down to 275, almost 3k damage dealt in one round. Amp Core shows up, picked up by French Pilot. And yeah, things are suddenly not looking too good for Camp 401. When the win is that big, that lopsided, you just have to wonder if there's anything you can do to somehow turn things around. Quick cooldown for Dzemp. Yeah, it could have given him access to oil on top of the fire. Instead, I think he just skipped and decides to go for EMP on the arc lights now, hoping that it'll get some lock on to those fortresses and be able to disable their techs. But if we saw how last round went, I don't think the arc lights ever really got to shoot them. I mean, hell, most of these fortresses still had their barriers up by the end of the round. Cheeky Wraith with armor in the back, yeah. French Pilot playing this very well. Knows he's in a good spot and just adds an armor Wraith on top of things. It deals 300 damage, so even if everything else dies, there is no anti-air on this board that can kill that. The Mustangs can, yeah, the Mustangs can, but it will take a very long time. At least the level 2s can. But the level 1s will be stuck on this for an eternity. And yeah, I mean, we can see the Scorpion here. It does get some shots off, but it just barely gets rid of... It just about gets rid of the two shields. Like, it was hitting a good spot, but now it's gone. And now you have, well, fully teched arc lights, but level 3 arc light, even with full techs, is no match for level 3 fortress with double tech. And the Wraith here locking up some of these Mustang left side. A bit slower, but still winning, especially with that debuff coming through. And, yeah. French Pilot here, another upset. I think what we have just witnessed in these first rounds is that 3 double or nothing vouchers has been used, and 3 double or nothing vouchers were wrong. 401 also bet on this game as a win for them. And French Pilot with the upset. I am telling you, it's been a trend. 101 is just scarily good, right? Like, you look at this and you're like, ah, almost 300 MMR difference. Heavy favorites here, but they keep doing it. They keep doing it. We're getting invited here onto another game, which is going to be Dillo. Let's have a quick look at the standings. So, we just saw French Pilot Dzemp. Cast does manage to win his game versus Play Archer, and they use their voucher, so that's 40 points the way of 601. Looks like 601 right now is doing the best out of all of the regions. Only got 1 loss, but they did get their voucher right, and 201 got 2 vouchers wrong today, and 401 got 1 voucher wrong with this game we just saw. French Pilot taking the win over Dzemp. 101 just consistently grabbing games, not really using vouchers, although I do see they used 1 on this game we're about to see between Maitrepeters, also known as Vinny, and Dillo. So here we'll see if the voucher is just cursed, or if 101 can just keep their lead here, sitting at the top of the leaderboards now. Yeah, 401 actually... Wait. Yeah, 401 not doing great. Wait, hold on. Uh-oh. Uh-oh. We have a bit of a 301 situation with 401 today. Oh, no. 401 losing 1, 2, 3 of their 4 games. If Sarah loses against Apooche, which is happening on the other channel, exciting game, so do go and check that out. If Sarah loses, 401's out. They're gone. Disqualified. I mean, I guess 301 will make some friends, but... Here we are. Vinny versus Dillo. Sabertooth spec here looking quite good. Marksman spec not too bad either. And Fortified spec definitely playable as well. Vinny is a big fan of Steel Ball Wraith pushes, so he might see Fortified spec being picked up here. Dillo does play a lot of aggro as well. Maybe goes for a supply spec here. Yep. Seems like the most solid pack. And Vinny indeed does decide to go for the ball Arclight pack. Dillo perhaps knowing this and using that knowledge to kind of influence his pack decision. Again, Sledge into Steel Ball is usually a very, very good matchup, and it prevents you from falling down in the early game at least too much. You get a good, solid round 1 setup, and then you can build around that afterwards. I think what we should see here, if Dillo wants to defend, the problem is Dillo is not really a defensive player, at least to my knowledge. Tends to be more of an aggressive player, but a headbutt scenario here is a bit hard. Sledge is notoriously very slow, so are the Fangs, so if he's on the wrong side of the board and there is an asymmetrical push, he'll have a hard time actually pressuring the other tower. And so yeah, we actually do see a defensive setup, very common defensive setup. With the vertical sledges in the middle, kind of making sure that these sledges here will be able to make their way over to the left in case that it is an asymmetrical push. And it is an asymmetrical push. Crawlers behind the steel balls here for Vinny. And we see a round 1 cheese coming out for Dillo. Similar to Aerial spec, able to get that 1 Phoenix. So we will see at least a win here, regardless of the outcome. Again, not a great matchup for Vinny. Will we get some Assassin Steel Balls is the question. Looks like no, and that's the power of this setup. You will see a lot of Heimamar players do this when they get this type of matchup, and they get that early like Fang Sledge setup. This prevents the Steel Balls from going to the tower on round 1, and it pulls all of them into the chaff, into the sledges, slowing down the push. And Phoenix able to clean up, but not a bad round for Vinny by any means. Manages to kill everything except those 2 Phoenixes, of course. Vinny deciding to go for the improved firepower control system. Question is, will that go onto something like a Wraith? As I said before, Vinny really likes to play Wraith pushes. It's a good item for Mustangs as well, though. Both players here deciding to go for the improved. This might go onto a Phoenix. And Vinny here just deciding to grab himself some Fangs. Not too concerned with the Phoenixes just yet. Though I do think that's a little bit ballsy. Fang in the middle, Fang in the back, hoping that this pack over here will survive and be able to dispatch of the Phoenixes once everything on the ground is gone. But with the second pack of Phoenixes being added, I don't think it'll be that easy. Dillo adding a crawler pack as well here to the back. And we have a crawler flank coming in. for Vinny. I was trying to find that final deployment, but it's found itself onto the right flank. And Dillo didn't add crawlers on that side. So debuff will be coming through, and maybe, just maybe, this Fang Pack will be able to do its job. Debuff comes in, Steel Balls this time around. Not distracted, get the second debuff. Fangs make their way over to the first Phoenix pack. And actually, the 2 Fang deployments are plenty. And in reality, it was just 1 Fang deployment there doing the job, because the other one was all the way in the front line and died pretty quickly. Vinny kind of expertly showing his knowledge of this matchup and using that debuff expertly. Underground Threat shows up on round 3. Again, super powerful, cheap spell. Hard to deal with, especially if you're playing aggro, because you need to deploy quite some resources to be able to beat it and not get debuffed. Now, Vinny does have an Arclight back here already. He decides to use it defensively, realizing that there isn't too much stuff in the backline for Dillo that will be able to deal with this. Dillo also picks it up. Both players still sitting on that improved firepower control system, keep in mind. And yeah, Dillo going for this diagonal over here. Now, for Vinny, this would be the most logical place, right? If you had to guess where Dillo puts it, he'll try and avoid this right side with the Arclight, and he'll try and go onto this left side. 2 more crawlers being added for Vinny. And another Fang pack as well, so just really trying to get his chaff down. Not too bothered yet with buying some of the more bigger and important units. I do think this will yield a debuff though. There's a crawler pack here at the back, but it won't be able to win against the amount of crawlers that are spawned from Underground Threat. A similar thing though could be said for Dillo. I'm not sure if this will be able to deal with the underground. Actually levels a tower here is Dillo. Did add more sledges. Perhaps some of them will turn. Phoenixes in fact turn, but that's not very good, because he needs those Phoenixes to shoot at the steel balls. Fangs were leveled for Vinny, trying to maybe deal with this, but it looks like that won't be the case. Crawlers are getting distracted though. Oh my days. Wait a second. There is no way that happened. Wow. The Fangs pulled all of the crawlers away from the tower, and then the Arclight was able to turn and kill them. If that was planned, that's crazy. He's too good at the game. And again, the Fangs are just going to be enough to kill these Phoenixes. These early rounds here from Vinny are very impressive. We get Marksman, Fire Badger, Saber, or Wraith. I mean, Wraith here does look good, but into Marksman, it's maybe not exactly what you want. And so Vinny opts to go for the Sabertooth instead. Level 5 Sabertooth on round 4. One of the scarier units that can show up. Very, very tough to kill. 90k hit points. And Dillo opting to go for the Wraith. And so we see Mustangs now being picked up for Vinny. I imagine that that's where the improved firepower control system will go. The one issue though is that that's still going to be tough. Tough to deal with these Wraith. Dillo giving the improved to one of the Wraith and already giving them range. And Vinny, not enough resources to be able to give range to his Mustang here. So this should be around going over to Dillo. Although at the same time, yes, nothing on this board will be able to easily dispatch of the Saber. So, might be a bit of a stalemate. Wraith getting some good splash down here, but it is true that Vinny has some exceptionally tanky units. I mean, the level 2 steel balls are already tough to deal with. And once those are gone, good luck dealing with this guy. The Wraith, though, known for its exceptional chaffler capabilities because it cannot get locked very easily, and so some of its guns there, making sure to get rid of all the fangs, and the saber will end up falling. Good round for Dillo, almost equalizing the hit points as we enter round 5. Ion Blast available, neither player taking it, and only Dillo decides to pick an item there. Absorption module for the Wraith. This one picks up a level with the item. Actually, we'll be able to DPS quite significantly. Range picked up on the Mustang. Very logical choice. We see a crawler flank from Dillo trying to kind of delay all of these units. It should be effective. Mustangs will still take some time to get rid of this. Phoenix is picked up on top of that for Vinny. Dillo gonna beacon flank next turn? Yeah, he could do that. Like beacon these crawlers backwards and delay this even more. That being said, Vinny actually does buy a beacon here himself, and so we'll be able to stop at least some of his units from getting distracted. Blue is not fixing his arc positioning. I mean, yeah, this one is a bit unfortunately placed, but there's no real good way of fixing it. Like, you don't want to use your mobile beacon on a level 1 arc light, and he had other stuff to sell that was worth more. Phoenixes do manage to lock onto the Wraith, but it's level 2 and quite tanky. Oh no, Wraith on this side, able to heal up. This is looking quite bad here for Vinny. Round 5 and already down to 900 hit points now. We get Marksman. Could be good. Could be good. Yeah, Vinny agrees. And we do see the instant AA being teched there in the background. Oh yeah, Vinny also going for absorption. Yeah, I'm not sure I understand that either. Not that much on the opponent's board to heal off of. A marksman here, though, could be very good. But the chaff clear is still lacking somewhat. It's not very easy for Vinny to get rid of those sledges. And we see Dillo going for sandworms instead. Double sandworm. Leveling his Wraith and trying to go for this right tower. It's only level 2, so it should fall pretty quickly. And 7 seconds of debuff is still significant. Vinny opting to go for jump drive. Not a tech that we see a lot of people run. Going for that flank here. Risky positioning. One missile could get rid of all of this. Dillo thinks he only needs one worm to grab that debuff. And we do indeed see this beacon here coming out for Dillo. I don't think it'll be too effective though with the missile and the Mustangs. They should be able to kill the 3 surviving crawlers. More steel balls being purchased. Oh, okay. More level 2 steel balls purchased. Is it able to deal with this worm though is the question. I'm not sure. Oh, maybe it is. Oh, it actually is. Okay. Nice job there. Marksmen are locking on. Managing to get rid of this. Oh, not quite though. The absorption Wraith with 8 gun. And it was a bit of a better round, but not enough to stabilize. And so Dillo will take out Vinny in a quick 6 rounds there. That suddenly just completely turned on its head. Yeah, and the timely purchase of that Phoenix there for Dillo managed to deal with the flank. The ball play definitely good, able to withstand the potential cheese, but it just wasn't quite enough. The Wraith too far out of control, and nothing on Vinny's board was able to deal to kill it, which meant that a lot of levels were picked up alongside some good items. And yeah, I was kind of expecting Vinny to go for Wraith here, but I can see it being tough when the opponent already went into Phoenix. So yeah, I don't think he saw a window to go for it and ends up losing the game. Quick 6-rounder. We might be able to even quickly go and have a look at how Sarah and Apooche are doing, which is the other game that's happening right now, before we catch up on the results. Keep in mind, Sarah has to win this game if 401 wants to stay in the competition. They've already lost 3 out of 4 games. This is their final game. And yeah, if Sarah loses, 401 is out. Disqualified. Apooche on the back foot here, though. Has the lesser hit points. 1,000 difference between the two. Again, we see these HE Stormcallers that I was facing yesterday. With a lot of levels in them as well. But for now, no AM devices from Apooche is playing Typhoon Carry. With not only Barrier, but also Homing Missile. Items on Storms? No items on the Storm. No, there is. Wait, there is. There's a Photon Coating. Oh my days. That's insane. Oh, they're Assault Stormcallers. Wait. They're Assault Stormcallers. Holy moly. They have 14,000 hit points. That's crazy. That's crazy. What on earth? Yeah, these Stormcallers have 10k hit points apiece. Big Fortress here as well. And some ranged steel balls. But the right side is completely collapsing now. Typhoons are suddenly taking the upper hand. Left side looking like it is stronger for Sarah, with the debuff kind of equalizing things. Debuff coming in for Sarah here. Decent timing, but these Typhoons are such high level. Level 4 with the portable shield item as well. Scary, scary stuff, and high level Phoenixes with range. The damage is very scary. Assault Fortress picked up here for Sarah. Already has the 1 Fortress. And we see Electromagnetic Impact picked up for Apooche. Will be instantly shielded. Sarah respecting that spell. Goes for the oil himself. And Apooche opting to level a tower here, realizing that his left side might collapse at some point. Kind of trying to make sure that his tower doesn't fall as easily. More fortresses being added. And Sarah opting to go for the barrier here. Even more Typhoons being added to the mix for Apooche. I wonder if something like Mechanical Rage here could be worth it. Sarah, though, doesn't run armor on his sledges. Otherwise, something like an armor and triple level 2 sledge play could have been pretty good for him. Yeah, Factory also I do like as a play. Let's see, though. It seems like Sara has put his faith into the fortresses. Steel balls are kind of locking on, but it's not quite enough. Those missiles dealing so much damage. Right side collapsing again. The tower here is level 3, though. Will fall. 5 seconds of debuff coming the way of Sara, and left side is now actually managing to get some wins. Yeah, just a marginal win, well, not even, on Sara's strong side. And again, that right side didn't look any better this round. Sara down to 184 hit points. Another EMP. Sara opts to go for the advanced missile device, meaning that his missiles will now deal 15,000 damage apiece. Now there is one missile interceptor over here though. And Apooche opting to go for a charge shot to kind of amp his damage. Be able to get rid of these big fortresses a bit faster. And we see missiles being spammed everywhere for Sara. 3 over here, 3 over here. Enough to break those shields. Another 2 over here. These shields are 24k apiece. Even, wait. Yeah. Even 40k over here on the level 5 Typhoons. Actually, I think this is... Apooche did put down a lot of missile interceptors. Not even sure if it's because of this or it's because of the Stormcallers. It might just be against the storms. Some of these missiles will still make it through, but it might not pop the shields. Right side is now a level 5 tower. And Sara is trying to beacon into Apooche's tower now. Not sure that will actually work, because I think he'll just get stuck on... Well, he needs to just clear all of the units. Yeah, some of the missiles did come through, but not enough to break the shields, and this right side will have to be dealt with, but I think that's not going to be possible. Fortress here, under attack now. Tower debuff comes through, but it's only 1 second. Fortress pushing through. But these middle Typhoons will be able to get rid of that big fortress. And tower debuff will happen for Sara, but that's not going to be enough. No anti-air left on the side of Sara. And the Phoenixes will get rid of that blue fortress that was traveling all across the field. Meaning that 501, Apooche takes the win, and 401 takes their 4th loss here in a disastrous turn of events on round 2 of MAG1. And we have a second team that gets eliminated. You can have a quick look at the standings here, but that's a rough one. We saw Dillo versus Vinny. Now, 101 did use their voucher on this game. They won the other two, but the one that they used their voucher on, I think it's a bit of a cursed voucher. Ends up in a loss, and we can just see here all of these vouchers. Wrong. The only correct one was used by 601, who did in fact manage to get the win here with cast against Play Archer. And yeah. 401 though, taken out, disqualified, all of their players eliminated. They lost their 4 games today. And yeah, we'll have to wave them goodbye. Now we have one more game left here. On the MAG1 live channel, it'll be Sacco versus Monkst. Fantastic game. And we'll be covering Arbiter versus Vic. 501 versus 101. There is another ticket in play here. 501 using one of their tickets betting that Arbiter will be able to take the win. We'll see if they're right. Alright, here we go. Vic versus Arbiter. Lots of Fang packs, no Crawler packs available for Vic. Elite spec I actually would play, but maybe not in a tournament setting. There's a Farseer spec here available and Fire Badger. Overall, Arbiter looks to have some really good packs. None of these packs are great though for Vic if he wants to play aggro. Looks like he gets kind of the short end of the stick. Ends up going for the Marksman Sledge pack though, which does allow him to have a much better setup against these steel balls from Arbiter. Why did they restart? So both players, first Arbiter and then Vic, used their reroll voucher, which is available in this tournament, to restart the game because they are unhappy with their starting packs. But all of them were used now, so this game will be going through. We'll see some aggro from Arbiter, and Vic will be playing some defense. Sledges here a bit far back though. I do think this should be a bit further forward. It is a bit of a classic setup, but I think the sledges are a little bit far back. Prefer having it a bit further in front of the towers. But this should be a decent early matchup here. Arbiter just opting to go for the one Arclight, pushing asymmetrically, grabs himself a Crawler pack as well. Marksman here getting some good early locks, and they do provide that early DPS to be able to quickly dispatch of these steel balls. I mean, already, look at how many of them are gone. 6 of the 8 steel balls gone. Crawlers are a menace, though. Hard to deal with for the sledges. They're not great at dealing with chaff. And those final 2 steel balls, one of them takes on the assassin role here. Will go for that tower. This always happens. And so what looked like a good start ends up being a pretty competitive first round here. And even in favor of Arbiter, it seems, Steel Ball gets a level. And yeah, even though 6 Steel Balls there died, those Crawlers coming in were just not getting cleared at all by Vic's board, and so chaff clear will probably be the name of the game here. At the same time, leveled steel balls also means that DPS will be required, and I don't think level 1 marksman will be good enough to quickly deal with this. So a bit of a conundrum here for Vic. Arbiter also crucially gets access to the Fire Badgers this turn, picks up the improved firepower control system. Vic is still thinking, but I do believe this should be a skip or a pick of the improved. Decides to skip in this scenario. Is a Rhino specialist, by the way, so we'll be getting access to that Rhino in round 4. And yeah, we see the early oil come out. Relatively common play here. But the Fire Badgers, in this case, might actually help Arbiter here. I think the slow would be much more beneficial for Vic than the fire. But these Badgers might set it on fire, get rid of the oil, meaning that Arbiter next turn doesn't have to worry about oil sticking around. Decides to go for a shallow flank there, pretty common thing on aggro these days. And another sledge pack picked up. So Vic just hoping that the additional sledge here will be able to deal with the chaff, especially with that oil. Creating the slow and creating the fire this turn, most likely. Levels here picked up on the Crawlers and the Steel Balls for Arbiter. And another pack of Crawlers picked up, I believe. Yeah, level 1 steel balls dealt with. Oh. Fire Badger is going around the oil there. Actually looks like this won't be set on fire, and I think that is probably the best case scenario for Vic. But tower will fall. There's still a good amount of sledges in the middle to stop this advance. But the level 2 crawlers during debuff are very scary indeed. And look at how quickly these sledges are dying. And Marksman cannot deal with this level 2 pack of steel balls. Fire Badger's doing a great job there. Almost able to level up. Round 3, unit reinforcements. Ooh, we get Typhoon here, which is a really, really good aggro unit for Arbiter if he decides to pick it. Good pairing in general with the steel balls. We do see the Scorpion as well, though, as the quintessential counter to things like steel balls and Typhoons. Vic decides to pick it up, and perhaps seeing the Scorpion is making Arbiter think twice about whether or not he wants to pick up this Typhoon. Phoenix, also a very good unit here. Exceptionally strong against all of these options, and strong in general against Vic's board of sledges as well. Could be the pick. Typhoon, a lovely item holder, and Arbiter does have that improved. I think the debate is probably between these two right now. Could even go for Scorpion, actually, but yeah, ends up going for that Typhoon after all. And setting his eyes onto the right tower now. Doesn't want to have to deal with this oil one more turn, so instead is starting to build on the other side of the board here. Steel balls have been sold. Phoenixes has been purchased. More crawlers added to the mix. And so we now see this pack of 3 units attacking the right tower. It should be successful. Only some fangs, pack of sledges, and a level 1 marksman there to defend. Another crawler pack picked up. Let's see how this performs. Arc Lights, the unit of choice for Vic, realizing his chaff clear is suboptimal. Will allow him to kind of deal with this onslaught of crawlers on the right side. Badgers this time around actually help out Vic, I would say. Setting the oil on fire, getting rid of all of the chaff, but right side falls, and somehow that Scorpion disappears as well. I think one of the steel balls perhaps managed to get a lock on for a bit too long. One pack of crawlers is still alive. Very annoying to deal with. The Phoenixes are doing a great job together with these Typhoons. Keep in mind they do have the improved firepower control system, so their DPS is actually quite high. And Arbiter picking up a 3rd consecutive round because of it. Rhino available now for Vic, and we see Super Supply on turn 4. Tends to be an insta-pick. I think for Arbiter it's definitely worth grabbing that, as he's still sitting at a comfortable 4,500 hit points. Wasp Swarm is like okay here, but yeah, Vic goes for Super Supply as well. Is in a bit more of a precarious situation, sitting at 3,300 hit points, but it's not too bad yet. Above 3k, I think you're still somewhat fine to pick this. Arbiter taking a good amount of time, considering his options, does end up picking it up, as expected. And we see the other pack of steel balls now being sold by Arbiter, as Vic picks up another level 1 Scorpion. Will we see the Rhino being used here? Or is it going to be sold? Now, of course, Vic doesn't know that the steel balls have been sold, but considering the board state here, this Rhino should be pretty good. And I think he will opt to keep it around. Arbiter deciding to go for a Phoenix Typhoon comp. Kind of similar to what we saw from Apooche. Perhaps taking some notes there. Perhaps they are on the phone right now and scheming for another Typhoon push game. Elite recruitment, level 2 Typhoon, level 2 Phoenix. Very scary board indeed. Rhino does okay stalling, but Scorpion gets a lock on. but it just doesn't have the damage to instantly dispatch the Typhoons. Double shot or a level will be required. Left side though, it is Vic's strong side, does manage to win even through the debuff. And these arc lights will have to help out the Scorpion, clearing the chaff. But there's no chaff left on the side of Vic right now. Doesn't matter. Arclight Sledge survive, and that Marksman, crucially, taking out the 2 level 2 Phoenixes, the main source of DPS there for Arbiter. Buying time. So Vic holding on. Advanced Power System though, a fantastic card for the aggro player. Arbiter very happy to pick that up, and Vic deciding to go for Advanced Missile Device Specialist. Again, missiles will now be dealing 15,000 damage, as opposed to the regular 5,000. Barrier picked up on the Typhoons. It has been nerfed, but it's still a really strong tech, and when positioned like this, Scorpions will not be able to one-shot both of the shields, I believe. I would expect double shot here to be picked up on the Scorpions. Kind of a mandatory tech against Typhoon. Instead, Vic decides that the Scorpions aren't enough. Wants to go for the fortresses with anti-air. Alright. So realizing that a lot of the DPS right now is coming from these Phoenixes. They are second and third overall. And if you can get rid of them, it should become a lot easier to fight this board from Arbiter. Also, fortresses do get the EXP from units they kill with anti-air barrage, and these level 2 Phoenixes are worth quite a bit, so it could end up in a rapidly leveling fortress, especially if they manage to also kill the Typhoons, which are also level 2. Oh, I keep forgetting about the camera. Oh my days. Thank you for mentioning it. Well, AA there, not too effective. The first salvo missing because the Phoenixes were still traveling. And so that means his tower will fall. Yet again, that's not what you want to see if you're on the side of Vic. Swap the camera to a new random corner every round. Still though, level 2 Scorpion here. Doing what it's supposed to do. Oh, not quite. Disaster. The Phoenix there manages to take out its nemesis, and the Marksman this time around not able to clean up the remaining units. Close round though, but not really what you want to see if you're Vic. I think he was really hoping for a better salvo there. Perhaps it could be worth to have like some crawlers up front to make sure that these Phoenixes don't move, because I think that's what's creating the problems here. Phoenix is moving at the start, dodging the initial salvo of anti-air. We get a Wasp drop picked up this turn for Vic. And Oil is back off cooldown as well. This Wasp spawn, though, I don't actually think will go to the towers. I think it will get distracted by the crawler pack and follow this all the way back to the main fight. Another fortress picked up. War Factory, the unit of choice here for Arbiter. A very classic 501 strategy here. Instant War Factory with range against the fortresses, realizing that Vic has already committed to a tech, so his other techs will become much more expensive. And on top of that, he doesn't run overload. So killing this factory will definitely be a nightmare. Let's see if these wasps get distracted or if they go for the tower. I do believe that indeed, yeah, they follow the crawlers all the way back to the main board. Fortress is managing to get some good EXP, but these crawlers are just such a nightmare to deal with. And yeah, this is not looking good here for Vic. Managing to kind of stem the bleeding, not take too much damage here. But this looks a bit tough. Melting Point, though, does get offered, as well as a level 6 Saber. Both of those units capable of dishing out lots and lots of damage as long as they lock onto the correct target. Mustang here doesn't look too bad either, but for Arbiter, I mean, but he already has the Typhoon, so. Vic instead opting to go for Vulcan. So he believes that he has enough DPS to take out the factory, but he realizes that those crawlers are just causing too much of a problem. And I would tend to agree. He's in a bit of a tough spot here. Arbiter actually does end up picking up those Mustangs. We get range for Vic on the Vulcans and range and acid on the Scorpions. The final Phoenix gets sold here, so this anti-air won't be effective at all. Oil will be set on fire and we get steel ball production on the factory and a level. It was able to pick up one of those levels after its performance in the previous round. Can the Vulcan stop this crawler advance? Because, I mean, look at this. Absolute onslaught of crawlers. Still, breaking this shield is going to be kind of tough. Get an insta-lock here, but it's still not even getting half of the hit points of that level 3 Typhoon shield. What it does do, however, is put acid on the ground. And with the acid on the ground, it becomes much, much easier for these fortresses and Vulcans to deal with the units in front of the factory. But the factory hits hard. Acid does come down. Vulcans are kind of trying to DPS. Will the Vulcan, or will the factory here die inside of the acid or not? It's driving out now. I think it is out. Steel balls produced by the factory. Oh, that is an improved missile device. So actually preventing the debuff there. What a crucial card. That late missile, because it deals 15,000 damage instead of the normal 5,000, prevents Vic from getting debuffed. Allows him to win the round. Now, Fortress here, War Factory here again gets enough EXP to level, and this is getting a bit tricky. Keep in mind there was fire on the ground last turn, so you have to imagine that this turn will be a bit better for Arbiter. Both players picking up the Orbital though. Will it be able to hit the Mustang packs from Arbiter? Will it be able to hit the Marksman and the Fangs for Vic? Are we going to see that level 3 War Factory or not? Vic opting to use some of those missiles there to try and break the shield. Level 4 Typhoon means 32,000 hit points worth of shield. So this won't quite break, but it'll be close. And the Scorpion does get some splash on as well, so it should instantly die. And this shield over here, level 3, so that should instantly break. 15,000 damage from the missiles. And 24,000 shield. There we go. 638,000 hit points. Level 3 factory. We do see the shields coming out here. Temp range clicked for Arbiter. And Scorch, the pick here for Vic. So he's trying to get rid of the steel balls and the Typhoons, perhaps hoping that there is a good synergy there between the acid pools and the Vulcan increased damage. Kind of layering all of that on top of one another. Decent missile there. Shields do break quickly, but most of these units don't care too much about the orbital. The only thing would, I guess, be the chaff getting hit. Can this Scorpion get a lock on? It can't! The factory just doing factory things right now. Drives through a little bit of an acid pool there, but it's just not gonna be enough, and it's untouched. Gets a level again. This looks really tough. Level 4 factory, and the chaff clear, even with these triple Vulcans, is just not enough. Wraith, Overlord, Wasp, and Sandworm are being offered. I mean, you could go for a couple gut shots here as Arbiter. Decides to go for Overlord. Could even have gone for like something like a Wraith with regen. I think Sandworm would be hard to kill as well. Does he decide to go Photon on the boats here? I think he does. We get Wraith on the side of Vic as well. I guess the boats do counter the Wraith. On top of being able to provide some photon emission if Arbiter decides to get it. Armor is available here for Vic. Indeed, it is a great tech against Typhoon Mustang. More Vulcans being picked up. And instead, Overlord Chin Gun is clicked. I'm not sure I'm a big fan of that, but let's see it. Oh, and Photon as well. Okay. Chin Gun and Photon. 4 boats now, all of a sudden. Chin Gun did get nerfed heavily. I mean, it got buffed again after being nerfed, but only deals half the damage it used to. We see a cheeky Wraith flank coming in there for Vic. Should be successful. Problem here, though, is that will anything be left alive? The Photon Coating getting so much value, preventing the Vulcans from killing some of these tankier units. Although it does run out now, though. Good debuff timing for Vic. But is there any AA left? Vulcans are falling. Scorpions are gone. Marksman not even able to take out one of those boats. And 1 hit point remaining. This looks very bad for Vic. But it's not every day you get to see 1 hit point remaining. But yeah, at this point, I don't know what you should be doing. I think Vic is in such a rough spot here. Was able to get the debuff there, but it wasn't even close to being enough. Still can't seem to kill the War Factory, and on top of that, he now needs AA as well to be able to deal with the Overlords. It just seems like it's all a bit too much. Vic goes for the EMP there to get some damage onto these shields. Still no Melter. It wouldn't matter anymore at this point. If he wanted to go Melter, he should have picked it back when it was offered instead of the Vulcans. Or like instead of going for the Scorpion. Like you can't go Melter here anymore. It won't work. The Melter will never get a lock on. And it's... the board is just too much of a clutter already, right? Like you have Scorpions with range acid. You have multiple sources of chaff clear. You got these random fortresses in there as well. It's just far less efficient than Arbiter's board at this point. Factory is level 4. More boats being added. All the boats being leveled. Doubling their damage on the Chin Gun. Yeah, we do see oil back off cooldown, but this looks very tough indeed. Vic tried to go for a flank play there with some wasps. And though it doesn't look too bad, I think this factory might just clean up the whole board. Or not. Nah, there is no way. There is absolutely no way it lived. What the fuck was that? Oh my god, it's the most disgusting thing I've seen. Holy shit. 1 HP factory kills 1 HP player? Bro. What in the hell? He actually did alright there. Bruh. That's insane. What a game. What an ending, especially. Wild. Yeah, a bit unfortunate. It kind of looked like he was alright, but I think it was also mainly because of the fire turn. I think if he doesn't have, like, the oil on this side, he's in such a worse spot. So even if he wins that round, I think he probably loses the next. Like, he just can't get rid of the crawlers well enough. Would Ignite instead of... No, I mean, it doesn't matter, right? Like, he has... the problem is, the factory has more range than the Vulcan. That's 1. 2, it gets Photon at the start of the round. So, Ignite doesn't do anything for, like, the first, 20 seconds of combat. Like, it just doesn't work. The only alternative play he had was try to go for Melter earlier, but, like, it's really tough. Like, when he's spawning Steel Balls and you've got the Typhoons and you need to deal with all the crawlers, like, Melter is going to struggle to lock on. And Melter doesn't have that much more range than a factory. And killing a level 4 factory, like, you'll need a level 3 Melter to kill it, like, at an okay rate, even if you manage to lock on, right? If we look at here, it looks like Monkst on an absolute killing spree here. Not just on ladder, but also in MAG1. Takes the round 1 win for 601 and takes another win here against Sacco. Arbiter manages to take the win against Vic. And there was use of the double or nothing voucher for 501. So doubling their points there, getting a whopping 40 points. Winners of the day, for sure, 601 and 501, the Finnish team and the American/English team. Doing very well for themselves, getting 80 points. 401, I mean, ignore the fact that they got minus 20, they got disqualified, or well, eliminated, I guess I should say. As all of them lost their games, unfortunately. They joined 301.